What is good? How are we doing, my beautiful people? What is it? It is Sunday. It's almost April 20th, 420. Nah, I'm joking. We're not like that. We're good. We're good. It's been a while since I've partook. We are, let me hold up. Whoa, I need to turn on the light. Give me a second here. We're gonna run a little Q&A because it's been a while and I feel like you guys have been so well behaved. How's that? So well behaved. Who the hell am I? What an idiot. But yeah, yesterday's session was so good. I genuinely enjoyed it so much. I'm back, baby. I'm back. You really do realize how much you miss your routine when you spend even a couple days away from it. Now, obviously that can change with a new consistent behavior in a new place, location. But as of right now, I'm excited to get back. I woke up today 178.2. So we dropped a little bit of the water weight that we were holding. Let's see. Let me bring this thing down here. Okay. Also the Osmo Pocket. See, we're looking decent, you know what I mean? The lighting's really good here. But I still would put myself at that like 14-15%, give or take. I just have very favorable body fat distribution when it comes to my core. And I am decently lean, right? And I stay active. I get around 20,000 steps per day. I used to be 25, 30, even 40,000 steps. I think I talked to you guys about this on a YouTube video a couple, I was gonna say months back, but probably a couple weeks back, maybe a month or two. I went through a period of time where I was walking 40,000 steps a day, and I was walking wearing no shoes, or I was wearing like these sandals that were just busted. I don't have them anymore because thankfully I threw them out, but yeah, it was ridiculous. It just took too much time. A lot of people ask me like, how fast do I walk? It's at 2.5. I don't even know if that correlates to 2.5 miles per hour. I believe it is, but it's just like this speed is perfect for me because I get just over 1,000 steps every 10 minutes. So if you think about that, that's 400 minutes of walking if I was to do 40,000 steps, which is just too much. It's just ridiculous. And there is going to be a point of diminishing returns, right? We know that there's going to be something known as the constrained energy hypothesis, the, what's his name? Ponser-de-Tal model, where essentially you get to a certain point and your body kind of fights back. It doesn't want to just continuously burn the same amount of calories based on every single step. We start to take away from like our immune system and other systems to kind of balance out the energy expenditure. So it drops. That's why it's called the constrained energy hypothesis. So you can't just walk indefinitely and expect to burn so many calories. I believe the point of diminishing returns is around 2.5 times your BMR. Again, this is all off the top. I'm not too certain that these are the exact numbers, but your BMR being your basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories needed to keep all your systems running at rest. So essentially keeping you alive in a coma. So for me, at around say 6 feet, 14-15% body fat with my particular muscle mass, which, it's not a lot, it would be around, 17, 18, maybe even 1,900 calories. It's hard to tell, but yeah, so 2.5 times that, which would mean that if you boosted your non-exercise activity and your exercise activity thermogenesis to that point, any calories burned after that point would be heavily, what's the word I'm looking for? Constrained, I guess, or there would just be very diminishing returns on those steps. Most people will not have to worry about this, and because it's mainly in extreme like endurance athletes, long distance like swimmers, runners, but you could definitely hit this if you have a very labor intensive job and or you are in a calorie deficit, more specifically a steep one. We don't want to be cranking our steps to say 30, 40,000, right? I definitely find with a lot of my clients that 20 to 25,000 step mark is kind of the top end, and anything after that, there's going to be significant diminishing returns. And also from a time efficiency standpoint, I would much rather see you do like formal cardio. So low intensity steady state or moderate intensity steady state, something like an elliptical. It's going to help disperse that muscle damage across your whole body. That is my S tier. Sorry, I'm trying to digest my meal. I just had a bunch of potatoes, but that is my S tier kind of cardio modality. Obviously there's going to be the impact phases of walking on the treadmill, but let's be honest, bro. Nobody got so fatigued from walking on a treadmill for like 20,000 steps a day, unless you're extremely overweight, because then obviously that plays a massive role in terms of your recovery. But a lot of people ask me if I'm walking 20 to 25,000 steps per day, does that really impede my recovery? Does it impede my leg training? And the answer to that is no. I notice no difference and keeps me healthy, especially when I'm walking on this incline, because now I have like this 9% incline. It does have my heart rate kind of reach that 100 to 110. It's not necessarily high enough for me to kind of reap those cardiovascular benefits. For those, I'd like you to be around that 120 to even 150 range, 120 to 130 being that sweet spot. For example, like 150 minutes per week. That's kind of what I push a lot of my clients to do. But if you want to go higher, you can absolutely go higher, but you have to assess on an individual basis if you're going to be able to recover. If you do kind of sports, like you play soccer, you play hockey, you play basketball, you do martial arts, you're going to have to kind of manage volume in a way for you to be able to excel at both. Now, you're not going to be able to be the best you possibly can at both sports, but you can be really good. You just have to kind of modulate and monitor the volume that you do for your weight training and or your sport of choice, right? This is where I would kind of switch from doing something like full body every other day to remove some of the frequency, go to say full body 2 or 3 times a week, just to have yourself or give yourself more time to recover in between bouts of exercise. And again, if we could have an ideal world, you would have the weight training first, and then later on that day, or ideally as soon after that weight training, you would have your bout of exercise being your sport of choice, right? It all depends on your goals. The most important thing is the principle of specificity, being that whatever you are looking at getting the best at, you want to be doing that the freshest, right? But obviously, if we had a choice and your goal was, say, you want to, get bigger, get stronger, but you also want to play a sport and get better at that as well, I would probably put the weight training first, as that's going to have less of an effect on the sport as the sport would have an effect on the lifting. So with that being said, I've missed a lot of questions, because obviously I was in Houston. Also, I read all the comments, by the way. I've just been very busy trying to get back in routine, all my client stuff, all my social media responsibilities. So I did see the questions and I did see the comments and all the support, especially when I was kind of giving you guys the heart to heart, especially about the podcast. I truly appreciate it. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's a tough one. Like I said, it was an ego crusher for me. And I know a lot of people are saying that like, oh, it's not as bad as you think. And it's not like it was a complete like blowout from me. It's not like I had like a moment and I just like freaked out. It's just that I just wish I did better. And it's something that I'm just not comfortable with. And it's something that I need to practice with. And I will get better over time. But it's just not something that I'm very skilled in doing. You can say the same thing about collaborating with other creators, whether that's going on other podcasts. I would still feel nervous even at my home office with my headphones and my nice microphone on a podcast. It's just not a comfortable experience for me. It's not a comfortable situation. But, I don't want to give you guys that corny little, well, if you don't put yourself outside your comfort zone, you're never going to grow. But I mean, it is true. And you could take that concept and apply it to literally everything in your life. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go way back to probably a couple of videos ago. I don't know which video I'm going to stop at because there's so many questions, and I'm just going to do a little Q&A, and then I'm also going to do a peripheral video. Now, I've been putting off the peripheral video because This place is dumb. It's so messy, but I don't have time today. I mean, maybe I do have time, but I'm choosing to spend that time elsewhere. But I don't think I'm gonna clean, so there's a lot of mess. There's a lot of mess. There's a lot of Nespresso boxes, and my cable management is an absolute disaster. My desk, there's everything everywhere, but it is what it is. I'm not just gonna continuously push this off. I know you guys wanna see the peripherals, so what I will show you guys is my lighting setup and my microphone, my cameras, my monitors, my computer. I'll run you guys through it all. And yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll probably do the Q&A first while I'm on the treadmill, just be a little bit easier for me, and then I will get to the peripheral video. So hopefully you guys are all having a fantastic weekend so far. It is Sunday, and yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, first one. This isn't also, what the hell was that with the camera? Can you guys see me? Are we looking decent? This isn't even a comment. It's a comment. It's not a question. It's just a statement. Cut down on the effing ads, man. 12 ads per video is disgusting, honestly. First off, get a job. You think I give a fuck? That's number one. Two, I don't do anything specific on YouTube. I just click enable monetization and it just handles it for me. I'm not gonna go in there and waste time and do strategic. No, I'm not gonna do any of that. Look, if you wanna support me, time is money. You could support me if you'd like. If not, you don't have to watch the video. And guess what? You could buy YouTube Premium. Let me check right now, actually. How do I even do this? YouTube Premium. You can try the first month for $0, and then after that, it's $8 a month. Like, get a job, kid. Imagine complaining to me about that bullshit. Look, I don't know what you want from me. I do this completely for free. So if I'm gonna enable ads in my videos, I'm gonna enable ads in my videos. Again, like Saibao, all right? Respectfully or disrespectfully. First question, W, I'm happy to be back. All right, what is your favorite way to prep potatoes? Excellent question. So what I do personally is I batch cook them, right? So I go to Costco and I buy like the 10 to 15 pound bags. Get the white potatoes as they're going to be the best for baking. And then what I do is I just turn my oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. You guys are gonna have to search that up. So 450 Fahrenheit for 1 to 2 hours, depending on how many potatoes, how crispy you'd like them. I would just do them for 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours. You just line the cookie sheet with tin foil so it doesn't get everywhere, it's less cleaning, and you just put them in. You don't have to poke holes. I would wash them, just rinse them just to get any dirt off. Put them in the oven, 450, bake for about an hour and a half. I cook like 10 to 15 pounds of potatoes that way. I get a big ass bowl, put it in the fridge. When I'm ready to eat, I put my frozen vegetables in the pan, and then I crush up some potatoes, boom. If I wanna put some meat in there, I'll put some meat in there, and then I'll drizzle some sauce. That sounded really weird, but you guys get the vibe. That is how I do it. Potatoes, more specifically, white potatoes. Boiled white potatoes are actually gonna be the most satiating, but baking is fine too. And then also when you put them in the fridge, you're gonna get that resistant starch, which is also going to help keep you satiated. Ideally, you want to not cook them or heat them up again, but just don't even worry about it. Like potatoes, even if you don't worry about the resistant starches, even though you don't worry about the boiling, this way it's super convenient. It takes little to no time because you literally, all you have to do is rinse them, line the sheet with tin foil, and then put the potatoes in the oven. Again, 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 to 2 hours. I like that 1.5 hour mark. Absolutely perfect. So let me know if you guys try that out. It's same thing works for sweet potatoes. Super easy. If you guys aren't on the potato gang, it's gonna be the easiest way to get in your potassium requirements for the day. As we know, it's really challenging without potatoes. You're gonna have to go with, spinach or no salt, etc. So tomato paste is also a good one. During a cut, what's your opinion on eating an extremely plain diet? I highly recommend it. Now, you don't have to make your food taste like shit, but you definitely don't want to fall trap to having sugar-free everything and making every single meal like a dessert. The whole protein pancakes with sugar-free syrup and every sugar-free sauce and every sugar-free, calorie-free diet soda, all that's going to do is it's going to make you crave those things because you were just feeding into that dopamine craving that you're getting. And a lot of the time, you're not actually hungry, you were just looking for dopamine, which you are getting through food. So if you can kind of remove that connection, it's going to be very, very, not easy for you, but it's going to be much easier to control those cravings. But at the end of the day, hey, you definitely want to make sure that you are not restricting yourself, because if you restrict yourself, that can lead to overindulgence and binging. So what I recommend is, like I always say, have something to start your day and end your day with something that you genuinely like. And for example, say you're a guy that likes Oreos, right? And you really like Oreos. You could have like a Ninja Creamy at the end of the night, 400 or 500 calories, and have part of that 400 to 500 calories be like 200 calories of like Oreo Thins, and you could sprinkle it on top. So you get your little treat and it's all fit within your calorie budget. There's nothing inherently wrong with diet sodas and what else did you say? Low calorie sauces, but spamming it is not a good idea. And I highly recommend having some meals where they are quite bland. Like I always talk about this on my TikTok. Like, are you hungry enough to eat a regular boiled chicken breast? Are you hungry enough to eat a regular bowl of oats, not salted, nothing, just literally oatmeal, that's it? Because that is the difference between hedonic hunger and like physiological hunger and psychological hunger. Physiological hunger being lower energy availability, what you're actually going to feel in a sustained calorie deficit. You get that hunger that builds up over hours, whereas that psychological hunger, that's that craving for dopamine. You were just looking for that treat, you're looking for that craving. Everyone likes to disguise this and say, oh, it's food noise, it's food noise. It's kind of ridiculous at this point because you're just craving a sweet treat. We don't have to kind of frame it as this big thing. It's food noise. I don't know how I'm gonna fix myself because I have so much food noise. You're just craving a sweet treat. So you have to realize that it's okay to have these things. I personally have butterscotch chips in my Ninja Creamy every single night, right? I have these like cinnamon toast crunch, like they're not really, it's like this farm girl cinnamon whatever. I have stuff that's not considered healthy all the time, and this is why you have to develop this relationship with food. And it doesn't take 4 weeks, it takes 12, 24, a whole year for you to be able to actually earn the right to intuitively eat. This is why I highly recommend tracking your calories using a calorie tracking app like Chronometer. We actually just released nutrition tracking with Tracked, our free training app. Tracked training on both Google Play and the iOS store. Again, I believe it's free. The app is free, but I believe the nutrition is free as well. We are testing it. I still think obviously Chronometer is better just because it's going to take us some time to get to that level, but I do recommend tracking your calories with Chronometer for an extended period of time so that you can kind of learn what's in certain foods, right? So hopefully that makes sense. But yes, there's I don't exactly know the term of it. I don't want to search it up right now because I got a lot of questions, but there is something to say about keeping your food rather bland and removing as much dopamine connection from the food as possible. Another thing that you could do is eat slower, actually chew your food. Next time you have a meal in front of you and you're very hungry, be present in the meal, chew the food, taste the food, take time, take 20, 30 minutes to actually have the meal. Go slow, breathe. Maybe put your phone away, maybe put your favorite TV show away, maybe go outside, read a book. Remove this temptation to search for this quick dopamine and actually be present and enjoy and feel like almost blessed that you're able to have this meal. Because remember, you are choosing to go down this path. Nobody's forcing you to. So you got to make the most of it, right? So hopefully that helps. Recommendations for training without wrists. Hopefully your wrist surgery went well, bro. It's been 6 days. I don't know if you got it prior or you're recovering from it. Number one thing is I have to refer you to a rehab professional because I'm not one, right? But what I do is anything that's causing you more than say like a 3 to 4 out of 10 pain threshold, I would not exceed that. So we could always work around injuries. So for example, if your wrists hurt, then cuffs are gonna be your best friend, right? You could do cuffed curls, you could do cuffed pushdowns, you could do cuffed lateral raises, you could do flaps for your lats. The only thing that's gonna be relatively challenging is to train your upper back, but there's going to be ways that you can do that as well. You can get some kind of slight stimulus from doing horizontal shoulder extension, like for your rear delt, because depending on where you have the resistance profile and depending on how you're actually retracting your scapula against resistance, you could have some upper back stimulus there as well. But I would definitely tap into cuffs, and you're gonna have to get creative. I've had this issue with a lot of clients before. If they have issues with their wrists, for example, curls, right? What do we do? Well, you could either cuff at the wrist, above the wrist, to take the wrist joint out of the equation, and then you can change the height of the cable and your body positioning, your upper arm positioning to challenge different ranges of motion with different resistance profiles. Or you could also go on Amazon and buy like a Vulcan strap. And what you can do is you can kind of have the Vulcan strap above your wrist here, and you could just do curls. Now, this is where you're gonna have to kind of understand biomechanics, understand resistance profiles, but I wouldn't try to chase the quote unquote optimal exercise. I would just try to get something, right? Something is better than nothing. So for example, I know we've demonized doing hammer curls, right? Well, hammer curls don't bias the brachialis, they bias it just doesn't matter. In this situation, what is the alternative, right? I would rather you have some stimulus than no stimulus. So what I would do is I would put your hands within a Vulcan strap and just do hammer curls, right? That way you're gonna get an even elbow flexor challenge. Now, sure, could you argue that some fibers in one of the three elbow flexors could potentially atrophy or would atrophy? Sure, absolutely. To what degree? It's hard to tell you, but that's what I would do. Remember, some stimulus is better than no stimulus. And also go see that rehab professional, because if you get a good one, they will provide you with structure and a kind of way to help you get through this injury, which I know you will. So yeah. Recently started tracking my RIR and leaving one in the tank in my first set. Feels amazing not being completely destroyed going into that second set. That is absolutely fantastic. I love to hear that. And that is very common amongst all of the people that I push that information to. Honestly, training with reps in reserve has almost been demonized by people who kind of sensationalize training to failure as if it's like some spiritual experience. And more often than not, what I see with these people is the reason why they're able to get additional reps is because they're cheating, right? They're cheating. Training to task failure is not this crazy thing, right? It doesn't require some minerals and you need this person to spot you. No, it just requires accuracy and focus and obviously intensity. But intensity doesn't mean how loud am I screaming in the gym? How loud can my gym partner scream in my ear? Because if you have to take, for example, some common things that I see amongst people who claim that they train super hard, it's resting at the top of a squat after they've reached task failure, say for 10, 15 seconds to catch their breath and then go in for another rep. Well, now you've just dissipated some of that fatigue, so you're able to go for another rep, but that's not increasing motor unit recruitment. Remember, motor unit recruitment is the name of the game. That is going to be one of, if not the most important things to focus on as an advanced lifter, because your pool of fibers that you have left to grow becomes smaller and smaller. And the only way to target these fibers is by raising the bar as far as how many motor units you're able to recruit. And in order for you to do that is we need fatigue to be lower. So doing rest pause sets, doing drop sets is not increasing your intensity. That's ridiculous, right? Intensity just refers to your proximity to task failure, and task failure is dictated prior to you even starting the set. I've mentioned this plenty of times, but so that's number one, is resting at the top of your squat, or maybe you're pressing, you do 5 reps, the last rep was really hard, and then you rest here for like, and then you go again. Like that's essentially a rest pause set. That is not increasing intensity. You are not training past failure. You are just allowing some of that fatigue to dissipate. So that's not something I necessarily suggest to do. It's not bad per se, but it's not giving you anything extra. Straight sets are always going to be meta. Do your straight sets between 4 to 8 reps, 4 to 6 reps if you want the most optimal answer. But honestly, like 4 to 8 reps is going to be a great rep range, and leave 1 rep in the tank. And by focusing on leaving that 1 rep in the tank with that lower rep range, is that you're going to have much more focus and accuracy on the particular target muscle that you're training, because you have to be like, okay, you have to actually assess your technique throughout the set, versus I'm just gonna train to failure, I'm gonna go as hard as I can. And then you have people who start pressing like this, or you have, pressing like this. I was looking like I was dancing, but you guys get the picture, right? So I'm glad you took some advice there and it's been paying off. W. Tapping the Smith machine behind the neck pressing makes it harder to cheat. I've never actually ran that exercise myself. I've programmed it plenty of times for clients. I've never ran it for like an extended period of time. I've hit the exercise before and I've done some sets with it, but I've never ran it for an extended period of time. I really like the Atlantis one. My goal is to just run this to the ground, and then eventually what I'll do is I'll swap it out. Now, you could say that the behind the neck pressing might be even better, but it really just depends on your goals, right? If you're pressing out to the side like this, then that means that you're including some more side delts than you were if you were pressing like this. Even though I'm pressing like this, there's still going to be side delts involved. It's just that there's a slider, right? The more in the sagittal plane, the more shoulder flexion versus horizontal shoulder abduction, or I guess this is just shoulder abduction. So remember, more side delts, more upper chest, but just because it's more upper chest doesn't mean that there's zero side delts. It's a slider, right? So it really just depends on your goals and what do you want more. I often see you complaining about the wrist extensor being the limiting factor, but you just can't use straps to mitigate this. I think you're talking about for the top half reverse curls. In my experience, I really don't notice any difference. And it almost hinders me when I use straps. This might come at a shock, but you could try this yourself. And anecdotally, I do not find that straps assist me when I'm doing that movement in any way. So what I do is I leverage my thumb underneath the bar. I cue slight wrist extension isometric, and then I make sure that I'm leaning back slightly so that I have a very descending resistance profile. So I only have to kind of fight that wrist extension isometric for the first couple inches of the movement, and then it's a lot easier because the weight is almost above my wrist, if that makes sense. So there's not really much joint torque demand at the wrist. Again, it's something that you kind of have to just adapt to over time. Now, your wrist extensors are almost always going to be, not almost, they will always be weaker than your brachioradialis. So you actually have to set up the exercise in this way, or you have to make sure that you use a rep range that allows your brachioradialis to fail before your grip fails, right? Because that is the point of the exercise. We are trying to target this guy. We're trying to target this guy right here, right? Brachioradialis, which is going to be best trained with a pronated wrist position like this, because the biceps are a wrist supinator or forearm supinator. So by going into pronation, we are going to disadvantage the biceps, and also the biceps are going to be able to produce the most force in this range of motion. So by doubling up and we train in this range of motion with a pronated wrist, we're going to better shift that load share and bias more of the brachioradialis. So that is why I do that exercise. And as you guys know, I glaze it every single time. I highly recommend it. Another option is to just do a top half reversed cable curl. That's an excellent option too. And I've run it plenty of times. I've programmed it plenty of times, and you can do it unilateral, so even better. I just personally like this one at my gym. It's more motivating. I have those bigger strength goals. I just touched a plate for the first time, so we'll see how that goes next session. But yeah, so let me know what you think. Any reason to skip abductor machine? Hip thrust hits it all well enough. So no, and I'm not a fan of the kind of hits it well enough thing, right? I'm a believer of something that is known as task-dependent motivated recruitment, which means that there's going to be certain muscle fibers that are involved to carry out certain joint actions, which is pretty self-explanatory, right? This is why you're able to kind of bias portions of your chest, bias portions of your lats, bias portions of your delts, theoretically, right? So what I mean by this is you're going to be able to bias, right? Shift the load share and have greater activation in certain regions of a particular muscle based on different joint actions that you're performing. So obviously your glute max, the biggest muscle, more specifically your lower glute max, is going to be best trained in a hip thrust. Now, if you wanted the biggest glutes possible and you only wanted to do one exercise, I would recommend doing a hip thrust because it's going to be the biggest bang for your buck. But if you're, for example, a woman that wants to grow the biggest glutes possible, then it's not going to be enough, right? It's not going to be enough. In the same way that if you're a guy and you want to grow the biggest chest possible, it's not going to be enough to just do horizontal shoulder flexion. And the arguments to say that, oh, well, this guy built a fantastic chest and he only does bench press, that is a piss poor argument, and that shows a basic misunderstanding of anatomy and biomechanics, right? And a lack of understanding the principle, which is known as task-dependent motor unit recruitment. So there's going to be muscle fibers, there's going to be motor units that are specific to that demand, that task of hip abduction, so spreading your legs. Pause. So if you spread your legs, you do hip abduction, more specifically with a flexed hip, you're going to better bias the upper region of your glute max. Now, does this matter for you? I don't know. I personally canned the exercise a while ago because I just don't really care that deeply about maximizing my glute development. And it was just getting annoying at the end of my session. But remember, if you choose to add in an exercise and it's something that you value, then you have to have that movement pattern in for eternity. Otherwise, those adaptations will eventually dissipate and disappear. That is specific adaptations to imposed demands. It's one of the most important principles when it comes to physiology that you should understand. So yes, big yap, but it really depends on your goals, just like anything. If we are staying at same weight and same reps for weeks, does this mean that we are not growing any muscles on that period? Absolutely not, because what happens is as you become more and more advanced, we need more of those adaptations being myofibrillar addition. So adding myofibrils through an addition of actin and myosin for us to be able to express that additional force production, right, which is going to be the result of myofibrillar addition. We're increasing a muscle fiber's cross-sectional area. So we just need more of those adaptations to occur in order for us to add that rep or add that weight, which is why you will not progressively overload every session. It's impossible. Otherwise, everyone would literally be the world's strongest man eventually over a period of time, right? We all have limitations. We all have different internal moment arm lengths. We all have different leverages. That's going to dictate how good we are at certain movements. There's also skill, coordination, you name it. So this is why the question of when should I progress? How long should I progress? Have I hit a plateau? All of these are the wrong questions. And it really just comes down to you being impatient and you not realizing that this takes time, right? Because once you run an exercise for an extended period of time, the amount that you have to gain in terms of coordination and skill becomes slim. Now people will claim that you never have any more coordination adaptations to gain, and that's just false. You forever will gain skill and coordination adaptations in a particular movement. It's just the ratio switches, right? And now the amount of hypertrophy, the muscle fiber cross-sectional area increasing, that is what is going to move the needle in terms of adding reps and weight. And this is why strength is incredibly correlated with size when you get to this point, right? When you switch to a new movement and you have those neurological adaptations, those coordination and skill gains, that's why you're gonna be able to make crazy jumps at the start, but that's not correlative, indicative, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but to you actually building muscle. Once the progress slows and you're gaining a rep, a little bit of weight every month, every couple weeks, that is when you know that increase in performance is due to you actually building muscle. And this is why you actually have to use the strength gains and the logbook to dictate if you're continuously building muscle, if your program is working, right? If you're able to progressively overload in the gym over months, not weeks, not days, then your program is working, right? Simple as that. My gym only has lying leg curl, so I do that in SLDL for my hams. Am I leaving any gains on the table? So the answer to this question is yes, you are leaving gains on the table, but there's a practical answer and there's like a physiological answer. So practically, you're likely fine and you're gonna be able to build some pretty gnarly hamstrings, especially if you have solid technique and you get stronger with time. Now, what would I do in your situation is I would make sure that the SLDL is done with straight legs, and I would make sure that you actually limit the range of motion, because the adductor magnus is going to be more involved in deeper degrees of hip flexion. So I would not do a full range of motion SLDL. Now, a lot of people come up to me and be like, oh, well, wouldn't that mean that I have less erector growth? Yes, but what do you care about more? Do you care about maximizing your hamstrings, or do you care about maximizing your erectors? That's only something that you can decide. I personally care more about my hamstrings than my erectors. I feel that your erectors will get tons of growth isometrically with, Kelso shrugs, with even chest supported. Kelso shrugs, 45-degree hip extensions, some squatting patterns, etc. Now, is it going to be the most? No. You'd have to argue that you're going to get more growth doing isotonic movements like isolated spinal extension Or if you're looking for the greatest isometric challenge, it's going to be like a stiff leg deadlift, maybe even like a stiff leg deadlift from a deficit, because now remember, your spinal erectors, their main goal is to extend the spine. So because their main goal is to extend the spine, they also play a role in the opposing action of preventing you from flexing your spine. And that is the role that we're challenging most when we're doing a hinge. So because that is the main role that we're targeting when we're doing a hinge, we want to challenge that particular range of motion. So challenge that resistance of spinal flexion through a greater range of motion. So that's why we would do something like a deficit SLDL. Holy yap, is anyone even listening? Is anybody listening? But yeah, that's what I would do. If you're looking for maximizing hamstring growth, you don't have a seated leg curl, you know, you can't do anything. You could try to Jimmy rig one up. I personally wouldn't do that. It's not worth the time. So I would just do a lying leg curl, bonus points for single leg, and then I would do an SLDL rack pull with straight legs and stop at around knee height. So you train the hamstrings in that kind of 30 to 70 degree range of hip flexion. If the bench is more inclined, would the lateral raise still be great? Are you talking about the chest supported, or not chest supported, are you talking about the lying cuffed cable lateral raise? Absolutely, but you're just going to change the path of motion a little bit, right? So if you're trying to bias more of that, remember, your delt is not 3 regions, despite what a lot of people would like you to believe. Your delt actually is made up of around 7 subdivisions, right? So you're gonna have 2 for your front, 3 for the middle, and 2 for the back. So if you're looking for that middle delt, which is going to be the section of your delt that's right in the middle of your side delt, then you're going to want to challenge straight up shoulder abduction and not have any degree of internal external rotation or flexion and extension. Remember, all your delt training comes down to is varying the position of your upper arm and the degree of internal external rotation, right? So you could have lateral raises done in flexion with more internal rotation. That's going to train more of the rear side of your delt. You could also do it in external rotation. That's going to train more of that rear side delt. And then you could also do it in extension with internal rotation slightly, or just neutral. That's going to train more of the front side delt. And then obviously you have your front delt, and obviously you have more of your very front delt being like the fibers that run completely vertically, right? So it all just depends on your goal. You don't really have to kind of go down the minutia of trying to like analysis paralysis your divisions of your delts. A lot of this stuff will just kind of cover itself out. I just recommend varying your positions over time. So yeah, really long-winded answer. No, it's not gonna make too much of a difference. I would just go based on feel. Remember that you are still challenging that side delt, even if you are in slight flexion and internal or external rotation. It's just going to kind of shift which fibers are more so involved in the movement. So that's why I say over time, you should vary your exercise selection. I've been doing dumbbell pullovers on a bench with a little inclination because it feels better for me. Is it hitting different fibers than doing it on a regular flat bench? No, it's not gonna hit any different fibers. It's just gonna alter the resistance profile a little bit. I mean, theoretically, it could hit slightly different fibers, but again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to train shoulder extension in high degrees of shoulder flexion with a moment, so a challenge to the elbow while we're doing that. So by having the weight in your hands, we are having that challenge to elbow extension whilst that isometric challenge to elbow extension whilst we are challenging the shoulder extension component, which is going to, in my opinion, shift more of the load to the fibers that are responsible for extending the shoulder in the proximal region of the long head of the triceps, being these guys right here. And to be honest, I've noticed significant gains already from doing this. I believe that the Nautilus one that I was doing with the pad at my elbow, because there was no moment to the elbow and I wasn't challenging that isometric component of elbow extension, that it was going to be more biased to my lower chest. I believe that both of those things are incredibly underrated, and that if you are more intermediate to advanced training and you're someone that wants to maximize their chest development, I think that you should be adding in a top half pullover. So yeah. Are there any cases which it is worth doing 3 sets of one exercise? Yes, if you are a beginner that wants to reap out neurological adaptations at a faster rate, and you also are in more of a motor unit deficit, which means that you're not going to benefit as much from having such a variety of different exercises. Again, It's just, there are no rules, but kind of just principles to follow. If you're a beginner, someone earlier to the gym, you don't need 20 exercises. You could just do like 8 to 12 and kind of get some crossover stimulus there and grow fantastically. And this could also kind of help you reap those skill gains at a much faster rate because you don't have a laundry list of exercises. Intra-session fatigue is still an issue. Obviously, it's not something to be just downplayed completely, but this can be fixed with having high levels of motivation as well as having a higher cardiorespiratory capacity, higher cardiovascular endurance, right? So those two things are going to really help you kind of survive a full body session. But if you don't like it, I completely understand. Another thing is powerlifting. If you are trying to get good at the bench press, then you want to bench press more often, more frequently, with more sets, less reps, more reps in reserve. That's how you're gonna do it, right? Same thing applies for deadlifts, same thing applies for anything that you're trying to get good at. Do it every other day, do it earlier on in your sessions, do it with less than 5 reps, do it with more than 2 reps in the tank. And the goal here is to get those skill adaptations, those neurological adaptations, get the coordination down without any fatigue present, because fatigue is going to absolutely cook your ability to kind of set those new motor patterns and adapt and kind of update that whole circuitry that's going on up there. We're losing some gains if we are not performing exercises with our full ROM available. In my opinion, no, because hypertrophy is not range of motion dependent. You do not have to go through the complete contractile range of a particular muscle to quote unquote maximize gains there. So for example, if you're taking the chest press, right, and you don't go all the way back, you could be missing out on some stretch mediated growth. Now you could get stretch mediated hypertrophy through static stretching, or you could get it through typical exercise. Now the reason why people say that stretch mediated hypertrophy kind of caps out at a young training age is because when we're strength training, we go through typical ranges of motion and we don't necessarily exceed those ranges of motion. So over time, as we add sarcomeres in series, we increase a muscle fiber's, a muscle fascicle's length, then we are not able to get any more of that lengthening because we're stopping at that particular range of motion every time. Whereas with static stretching, like a door stretch, we are able to kind of stretch much further than you would in a regular strength training exercise. Now, I could talk about stretching and stretch mediated growth, as that will increase a muscle's cross-sectional area, or not cross-sectional area, but whole muscle size, because you're stretching all of the fibers. And again, if you are capable of taking those fibers to a particular length over time, and you're able to increase that, then that will lead to an increase in a whole muscle size. Now, as far as this, no, I wouldn't worry about it. Just make sure that we are maintaining our body position. Ideally, we're maintaining a stacked torso, and we are only going as far as we can to not exceed that particular position. Okay, that was like an hour of me walking on the treadmill. I don't know how much I caught of that footage, but now I have a call. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm probably going to get back to the questions, because I think I have another video or 2 videos to kind of go through. I'm cooking myself, boys. Hopefully you guys appreciate this, because yeah, I enjoyed doing it. But have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in probably 2 hours. We'll run through some more questions, and then I swear if I forget to do the peripheral video, I'm gonna be so mad at myself. So I'm gonna really try to do it. This might be a really long one. I'm gonna get some haters say, oh, the video's too long, the video's too long. What do you want from me, right? What do you want from me? Okay, so anyways, see you guys in a bit. This isn't really a question. Also, how's it going? I thought I'd change up the little atmosphere. I'm off the treadmill. I actually might hop back on. We're already at like 18K. It's only 2:44. I'm gonna crush out probably 25K today. Push the calories around 4,000, 4,200. Your boy's a little bit hungry. Why? Because my sleep was not the best. Whenever your sleep is not the best, you're going to notice that your cravings and your satiety is lower. This is because of a mismatch between ghrelin and leptin, which are going to be your hunger hormones, which is why sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night, not only getting the total sleep time within that range, but also prioritizing things like sleep latency and just your overall quality and having the specific cycles, deep sleep, etc., because with that, it's going to help satiate you and also help with stabilizing your hunger hormones. So you're not going to be so peckish. I think that's the right word, where you're just looking for food all the time, right? Because that tends to be what happens. Also, being at home and not going outside because I'm working also plays a role. You guys might notice that whenever you guys are out and about, not a boot, about, you'll notice that it's a lot easier to kind of stay on top of your goals outside of, potentially eating at restaurants and whatnot. But what I mean by out and about is going to do activities, playing sports, going for a walk, things like that. That will help stabilize your hunger hormones and also take your mind off food. A lot of the time you were not hungry, you were just simply bored. So by taking away that boredom and chasing that dopamine and not allowing yourself to attach that dopamine release to strictly eating is a very helpful thing. But with that being said, this is not really a question. It's Dev's legs are actually ridiculous. I think I was glazing this yesterday in the video, but they really are. It's not even just his legs, it's his whole physique. It's insane to see. Every single time I go away to Houston, Dev is like my favorite person to train with. Out of every person that I've ever trained with in like Houston and part of the Echo guys, etc., he's just like my guy. So every time I go out on those trips, I always look forward to training with him. He is the absolute GOAT. And whenever I do train with him, I always bring something back when I come home, as far as like, it's freaky, right? Like the shoulder pressing strength, just the strength in general, obviously like the leg stuff and all that stuff, it really kind of unlocks almost like a new level for me, and it does inspire me and gives me lots of motivation. So shout out Dev. He's gonna kill it in his prep. I think he's about 8 weeks out, so I'm excited to see that. You're traveling for arm shortening surgery? Holy bro knows ball. Can we see the wingspan? What are we saying, fellas? This might go hard as a thumbnail, but probably not because my arms are like 12 inches. Look at that. That's the wingspan that we're working with. I've never measured it, but maybe I'll measure it for the one time. Keenan bro, please bro, just use my straps, bro. You need straps, please just use my straps. Oh my God. Shout out Braden. That was driving me nuts though. Bro, I don't need the straps. Look, I don't need the straps. I'll be okay. A lot of the time, if you're doing say like a 5-rep set, you'll be fine. You don't need to have straps. Are straps going to be beneficial? Absolutely, but try it. You might not be limited by your grip, especially if you're training with heavier weights, lower rep ranges. A lot of the time when people say that you're limited by your grip, it's because they're doing either lots of reps or maybe it's you're very sweaty, etc. If I'm just doing like a 5-rep set of a pull down, I can grab it with my bare hands. If I'm doing like a 500-pound hinge or like a very heavy Kelso shrug, then my grip's probably gonna be the limiting factor. So you just have to assess it on an exercise to exercise basis. It's gonna be okay, bro. All these comments and kind of like just statements on my most recent video, the bloat maxing, whatever, I do genuinely appreciate it. I'm looking through all of them right now, just talking about like improving public speaking and being hard on myself, etc. I do genuinely appreciate it. Like I want this YouTube channel to kind of just be like this raw, kind of genuine talk, as if you guys are just like right there in front of me and I'm just chatting to the boys and girl, if you're out there. But I do genuinely appreciate it. So thank you. That's something that I had on my mind and I had to get out because I was honestly thinking about it. And even now, every time I think about it, I just feel some type of way because I want better for myself. I want to be better. And that is like the next step. Like a lot of you guys put me on like some pedestal, and in my mind, I don't deserve it. And maybe that's an issue with me, and maybe that's a confidence thing. But in order for me to kind of take that next step, it's something I need to embrace. Like at the Echo event, the thing that inspired me the most, also, if I met you and you were at the Echo event and you're watching kind of this portion of the video, first off, shout out, you are a homie and a real one. I appreciate you and it was great meeting you. But seeing TNF's line was insane. Like to have that pull and that impact on the fitness community is crazy. And I hope that within the next 3 to 5 years, we could be in a similar position. Now, I know that's a lot to ask for, and it's gonna take a lot of work, but every time you get to a certain height, there's always going to be a new level, a new challenge to overcome. And I know what I'm weakest at. I know what I'm not good at. And I just have to make sure I tick those boxes and just slowly work on getting better over time, right? It's just the same stuff that I talk to you guys about all the time. So I do appreciate all of you guys. Let me do the higher up wellness flaps and nobody ever, bro. There's a different demographic, right? Like I speak to kind of like the science-based lifting, like lifting community. You have to realize that this science-based lifting community is like this tiny little bubble, as Mundy likes to quote it, right? Which is so true. There's like general fitness and health and wellness, which is like encapsulates everything. But when we're talking about this tiny little science-based lifting bubble, and like it's like a bubble within that bubble is the people that I speak to. So there's much more life and there's much more of an audience out there. And it just, yeah, it's hard to explain. But collab with Dev and Tricep Guy was so peak. Honestly, I've glazed Dev enough. Well, Dev cannot have enough glaze. Holy, that sounded weird, pause. But Jacob too, man. Jacob is my guy. Like, for someone that successful to be so like down to earth and just like such a great guy, and he's like so funny and just great to be around. That was our first training session, and obviously we've had conversations like off camera and stuff like that, and he's amazing, and he deserves all of the success that he's having, and he's gonna hit 1 million. And yeah, I'm excited to see that. And he's got me in his corner for sure. I relate to this so much because when I go and train with people much bigger and stronger than me and we finish lifting, I didn't want to pose. See, I do the same thing, right? It's all about perspective, right? You guys put me on some pedestal that I don't believe that I deserve. And then when I go out and I go and train with these guys, and I pose, I don't genuinely like it, because obviously the comments always rip me to shreds. It's like, oh, you're small, you're weak, whatever like that. Obviously it will get to you eventually, right? Everyone's going to have some body image issues, some body dysmorphia, some self-confidence issues. It's just about kind of how you overcome it, how you frame it, and what are you gonna do about it, right? Those are the most important things. So whenever I pose, obviously with my physique, I find that if I'm going to kind of, look somewhat decent, especially next to these phenoms like Jacob and Deb, I'm like here, like they're like up here, right? So if I'm gonna try to, hold my ground, I need to be very, very lean, and I'm just not there. I'm like decently lean, but I'm not at that point yet where I would need to have like tons and tons and tons of definition to be able to kind of like, because obviously the leaner you get, the bigger you look, especially with your shirt off. You never want to be in between the kind of, bloat max where it's like, you got some size to you, but the size is kind of like distorted because you are fat. So you have tons of body fat, or you're like super shredded. And then you look great when you pose because you can see all this definition and separation. But in videos and when you have clothes on, and if you look at me like from the side, right? Especially on a specific angle or camera, you're just gonna look like flat Stanley. You got no thickness to you, right? So trust me, we all have those thoughts, and it's just you're always gonna have those thoughts. That's why you just need to be comfortable with where you are, and you can't put so much self-worth, so much emphasis on your self-worth when it comes to just like your body composition or your size. There's much more to life, and you've got a lot more things about you than just your physique. So hopefully you guys know that. Do I have an A/B day, or do I just repeat the same exact session every other day? I strongly recommend repeating the same session every other day. If you're training full body, just repeat the same exact session. If you're training upper lower and you have upper lower rest, or upper rest lower rest, whatever way you want to do it, have the same exact upper day. Repeat that as many times across the week as you're going to, same lower day. The reason for this is because, remember, hypertrophy is muscle fiber specific. If we're consistently altering the exercises and the order, that's going to mean that some fibers are being trained and others are not. And remember that we need at least one set performed twice a week in order to sustain a weekly net stimulus. You could do one set every 4 to 5 days. and that's going to be kind of like roughly maintenance or just barely any growth. But 1 set performed twice a week is going to be my minimum, especially if you're looking at improving a particular muscle group. And remember, muscle groups can be broken down into muscle regions, right? You can have your chest, and then part of the chest, you can have your clavicular head, your sternal head, your costal head, and each one of these heads can be quote unquote biased, which means that you're gonna have greater activation, which means that if you're activating those particular fibers, then those fibers are going to experience that mechanical tension stimulus, yada, yada, yada. Hopefully that makes sense. So just to keep programming super, super simple, just repeat the same session every single time you train. Any reason you shoulder press in those handles and not on the frontal plane? So I think I touched on this earlier on in the video. Essentially, if you're in the frontal plane, it's gonna be a lot less upper chest, a lot more side delts and front delts. As you become more in the scapular plane and in the sagittal plane, it's going to be a lot less side delts and a lot more upper chest. For me, I already do 2 side delt variations, being my lying cable lateral raise as well as my lateral raise machine. So I do 1 set of a low to high fly for my upper chest, and then I also have a little bit of upper chest when I'm doing my shoulder press, but I am keeping it to above 90 degrees. So it is going to be more biased towards my front delts, but you can't just train your upper chest in isolation. There's going to be some synergists, and those synergists are going to be dependent on the plane and range of motion that you train in. So it's really just down to that. Also, you can assess this. Like, I don't have very good, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I don't have very good external rotation on my left shoulder here. I've always kind of been a little bit iffy. So for me to press directly in the frontal plane, I have to crank that external rotation. And then when you have to crank external rotation, when you have an external load, if I go down into this portion of the range of motion, I could tilt into slight internal rotation, and then the weight is pushing me down, and then I have to fight that external rotation. I'm leaking power, and that can kind of lead to a little bit of discomfort and joint pain over time. I don't want to necessarily talk about pain on this channel because it's multifaceted, but it's just one consideration to take in consideration. You guys know what I'm talking about. He didn't feel like you didn't upload. Dev helped a lot, bro. Dev and Braden are my goats, man, and Jacob. You guys literally carried me through this trip. Every time I go to Houston, I always find it so stressful because I always have my content on my mind, yet I want to kind of enjoy just being in that atmosphere, talking with people, not having to fixate on, oh, here's the camera, hey guys, you know what I mean? But obviously I know I have a YouTube channel and you guys want to see that, so I'm gonna try to be better next time. But honestly, Dev and Braden and Jacob, they all like just carried me because we were doing these collaboration posts on Instagram, so that was dope. Appreciate you guys. And the absolute GOAT, Faz Lifts. I didn't even know you watched my videos, bro. I'm fangirling right now. I'm fangirling. I really appreciate it. It's the perspective that you have of yourself, right? It's weird. And I'm assuming that you're similar in the sense that you kind of analysis paralysis everything that you do. I mean, it almost takes that type of person to reach a certain level because you have to take care of your professionalism and you have to take care of your work. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain because I felt that self-doubt. I felt that imposter syndrome more than I've ever felt in my entire life on that podcast. And I felt it in the airport. I think I told you guys the story. I got the text about, here's the podcast, here's who's gonna be on it. And immediately part of my brain was like, nah, like don't do that. That's like stupid. You're gonna get embarrassed. Like, why are you on that podcast? But then I knew that it was a great opportunity and you're never gonna get opportunities like that at all. So I was like, you know what, let's do it. Let's run it. And it's almost like an exam or like a test where you're just panicking, you're panicking. I was thinking about what's gonna be on there, and I got so in my head that it was just so stressful. Like I said, I'm probably playing it up and it wasn't that bad. It's more so about the fact that I just wish I did better, and you can't go back, right? You can't go back in time, so you just have to focus on the present and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. But yeah, man, I'm just disappointed in myself. And like I said, it's probably not that bad, but it's one of those situations where everyone's giving these profound answers, like yapping for like 2-3 minutes at a time, just giving like these life stories, ripping quotes and dropping bars. And then, you know, the camera shifts to you and it's your time to answer, and you give like 10 words, right? And you're nervous and your mouth is pasty and your heart's racing. And for me, since I'm like my white complexion, I'm Irish, I get all red in the face, and that's how you can immediately know that I'm not comfortable and I'm feeling uncomfortable about a situation. It's just, you know. Anyway, thank you, Faz. Appreciate you, bro. You're the GOAT. Physique is insane, but you most definitely held your own. I don't know why people are saying this. Look, I appreciate the glaze, but let's not be delusional. I was definitely not holding my own. The only reason why it looked even remotely like I should have been there was because my midsection is very defined. And everyone asks like, oh, what do you do for abs? Literally nothing. I played soccer for 20 years and I stay relatively lean. I've been relatively lean for the past like year and a half. My abs, even at like 18 to 20% body fat, really shines through because of how defined they are, and they're relatively thick. And I honestly put it down to just playing soccer for like 20 years, as well as getting extremely strong at like beltless squats, beltless hinges, and having to rely on that bracing. My methodology is like, if you are doing say like a 400, 500 pound SLDL, RDL, and just like I was talking about with the whole spinal extension, remember the spinal erectors extend the spine. So because they extend the spine, they play a role in not flexing the spine, right? You're resisting that flexion. So that's why during a hinge, you are going to do that. In the same sentence where your rectus abdominis, your abs, your six pack, their role is to flex the spine. So because their role is to flex the spine, they're going to play a role in anti-extension. They don't want you to extend. So they're gonna play this like synergistic kind of tug of war whenever you're performing your hinges. So if you're able to do like a 400 to 500 pound SLDL, RDL, what do you think? And you're able to brace your core and stay locked in throughout that whole movement. What do you think a tiny little like 150 pound crunch is gonna do, right? Especially when it's done on like a 2-to-1 cable stack. I personally have never bought into the idea. I don't really think that it's worth your time, although I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, you shouldn't train abs. No, they're a muscle just like anything else. Your forearms muscle just like anything else, your neck muscle just like anything else. They can grow. It's just, is the juice worth the squeeze? In my opinion, it's not, but who am I to tell you what you should do with your time, right? If you want to go down that route, do I think that I could improve my abs by training them? Yes. Do I think that you could improve your abs with training them? Yes. It just depends on how important it is to you. Just don't be delusional and think that you can get away with having a shitty diet and being fat by just training your abs, because I feel as if a lot of people who go down the route of wanting to train your abs so much, they just forget that the best way to train your abs is by putting the fork down. And I know I always make that joke, but it's genuinely like 100% true. You just got to get leaner, bro. Get to like 10 to 12% one time in your life, and then from there you can assess if you actually have poor ab genetics. Can an incline dumbbell curl be used to challenge that extended shoulder position? No, because the resistance profile is not going to be ideal. We want, holy stutter. Okay, I'm locking in. I always do these one take, by the way. I'm a one take wonder. We want an extended shoulder and a flexed shoulder if we're trying to fully develop our elbow flexors. Now, with that being said, for both of this challenge and this challenge, we want a supinated wrist and we want a descending resistance profile, meaning that it's heaviest near full lockout. Okay, this is full lockout, so we want it heaviest near full lockout. With the dumbbell curl, since the dumbbell is gonna act on gravity, it's going to be heaviest when my upper arm is like this, when gravity is pointing straight down. So from here, this is where it's gonna be heaviest. This is a mid-range challenge. This is where we want it heaviest. Down, why am I going? The table is in the way. I'm an idiot. In the same sentence or sense that when you do a preacher curl, you want the weight to be heaviest when you're at full lockout. So using dumbbells here would be fantastic as long as you have a relatively shallow incline. That's going to bias more of the brachialis, theoretically. So again, do I really think it matters too much? No. I think you'd be fine with just doing a preacher curl, and that would be ideal. But if you're going down this whole maximus route, then yes, I would do both exercises, but you want a descending profile. So the only way that you're gonna be able to set that up is realistically doing a cable, unless you do something like a recline curl. That could be ideal as well. You just want your upper arm to not be in flexion for that particular variation. So hopefully that makes sense. Fellas, I'm done with the questions. Hopefully I got to them all. I'll run this back in like 2 days again. Well, we'll see. I don't want to get in the habit of running too many question and answers, because I might get a little cranky and I might drop the whole apply for coaching. But I'm gonna run you guys through my setup right now. This is gonna be a very long video. It's probably gonna be over an hour long, so I do apologize. I know a lot of people want shorter videos. They want edited videos. I don't know what people want, man. Like I read the comments. You guys seem like you like this stuff, so I'm just gonna keep putting it out. It's a lot easier for me to do no editing, and I just chuck it in CapCut, put on some lo-fi, and move on with my day. But anyway, we're gonna start. Okay, before I do this, it's extremely messy, okay? It's disgusting. Actually, let me do like look at this, okay? So this is my setup. Look how disgusting it is. We have like Nespresso things. I've got no cable management. Over here, this is like, I got this Amazon like Black Friday sale. I still haven't opened it up. I'm gonna probably wait until, you know, Houston maybe. This, I have a, what is this called? A rowing machine that I haven't even set up. But you guys don't care about all this. Just look how disgusting it is. This used to be my home gym that I used to run during COVID, but maybe I'll do that in the video, but we'll see. Anyway, we're gonna start with this. So we got our Nespresso machine here. This is the GOAT, Nespresso Vertuo, I don't know. Here's all my pods, all right? We're locked in, So first things first, we have our lighting. I'm not a big lighting guy. I made the mistake when I started the channel. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy all the best shit so I can get the most professional setup. And that pushed me off from making YouTube videos for so long. So the whole lighting scenario is crazy. I don't know if there's any like videographers or film guys in the chat. I was like, the whole like lighting diffusion and soft lighting and all this other bullshit. I couldn't do it. So the camera setup was driving me nuts. The headphone setup, the microphone setup, I was just not about it. Listen, I'm like a physiology, nutrition nerd. When it comes to like all these other niche things, that's not it. I'm not that guy. But anyway, so for lighting, what I do is I bounce the lighting off of this kind of beige wall for that like soft diffused look. So when I sit here, it kind of, where's my lighting thing? It goes like, it's just it's a nice look. I don't know, maybe I've set it up wrong. I also got this lighting setup before I got these monitors. So before I used to have 3 monitors, and then I decided to get 4. So this was my first ever monitor. I believe this is a 144 hertz BenQ. I used to play Counter-Strike Go on this. This is an ancient monitor. This one over here is my second ever monitor. This is an Acer 240 hertz. These are both like, what do you call them? Like LED panels, T panels? I forget. But then we got the bad boys here, all right? So originally this was my main monitor. This is the, I honestly forgot what this is called. It's 32 inches, it's 4K, it's 240 hertz. This is my, my GOAT monitor. This used to be like my main monitor down here, but I decided to treat myself and I got a 500 hertz OLED. So I have 2 OLEDs. I know it's excessive, absolutely. This one is 4K, 240 hertz, 32 inch. This is 1440p, 500 hertz. I think this is like the Samsung Odyssey Peak monitors. I'm very happy. This is what it looks like from back here. So this is kind of like my setup. Like how nice is that? All right, so W. This is my first ever Artisan mouse pad. I think this is like the Artisan Zero Soft. This thing is now turned into like a placemat. I know that's kind of ridiculous, but this is my main keyboard. I think this is the GaDon GT60 with ruby something, jade, ruby switches. I'm not too sure. When I originally bought that mouse pad, or when I originally bought that keyboard, I had no idea that you had to put it together yourself. I am not the guy that builds keyboards. So if I could go back in time, I would have bought the, what is it called? Wu-Tang 2. I might sell it and get a Wu-Tang. I don't know. I don't know how I would sell that to begin with. It's rather like a niche product. But let's run you guys through the rest of my mouse pads. I think I have, I barely use this because I don't really game anymore. So this is like relatively new. I think this is the Artisan. I think this is a Heian, I believe. But this is extra large. This is large. So this is like brand new. Well, relatively brand new. It's got some dust on it because I never touch it. And then I have another one. I know, I apologize for being a consumer. Oh shit, hold up. I have another one here. So this, I've never even opened. What is this? You guys, I don't even know what the hell this is, to be honest. Wine red, soft. Oh, it's Heian. So this is Heian. So I have the Zero over there. This is my other keyboard that I had. I think this is like the Huntsman, Razer Huntsman Mini. Okay. Shitty MacBook. I don't even use this. This is my other PC. This PC has, what does it have in it? It has like a 2070 Super plus, what's the CPU? 2070 Super with like a, I forget. Who cares about that PC? I don't really use it anymore. That was like my OG PC, my first ever build. But now, let's go to the audio setup. So we have the Rode mic arm into the Shure SM7B. This is the GOAT podcasting mic. This is why it sounds so crisp in the voiceovers. I don't know what cable this is, this XLR cable. It's relatively expensive. And then that is plugged into my Motu M2. Okay, I'm also not the biggest audio guy, so if I'm pronouncing any of these wrong, then yeah, my bad. I've got my first ever like audiophile headset. These are the Hi-Fi Man Aria Stealth, plugged into the Topping DX3 Plus. As you guys can see behind my treadmill, this is the famous walking pad. This is the walking pad that broke. And that is the thing that I used to prop up the old walking pad. Now I just use it as like a stepping stool. Kind of ridiculous, right? So what am I missing now? So you guys have seen, okay, here we go, hold up. So now my camera setup, this is what I stream on. So I have the Elgato teleprompter, which to be honest, I've never used. My idea with this is I was going to like script YouTube videos, but you guys know me with scripting. It just comes off as like unauthentic. So I've literally never used this. Eventually I will, hopefully, but I have a Lumix S5IIX plugged into Elgato CamLink 4K, and then that provides the video that I stream off of, PS5 controller back there when I used to play FIFA. All right, now let's go with mice. So way back when, a couple months ago, I ordered, this is like, what the hell is this called? Oh yeah, Sakura. So Final Mouse, I was a big fan of Final Mouse. Back in the day when I was in like Maui, this original Final Mouse came out. This is the Air 58. I think it's like the Ninja edition. I ended up buying 3 of these. And I sold one of them to some guy in the UK for $500. I think I bought this for like $175, so that turned a profit. And then the other one I think I sold for like $600 on eBay. This is kind of junk now. The side mouse buttons are absolutely destroyed just from playing Fortnite forever. I used to be decent at Fortnite, your boy. But I was at the gym and a tweet popped up and essentially like said, oh, this new mouse is coming out. And I just jumped on it because I love Final Mouse and I wanted a new one. I ended up buying this, which is the classic. And then I realized, oh shit, I already have that shape of mouse, so I want to buy like a smaller one. So I emailed them and like, oh, can I get the small? And they're like, yes. A week later, 2 showed up at my house and they only charged me for 1. Sorry, Final Mouse, you got taxed. But yeah, so I've not touched this, but I got 2 of these for the price of 1. W. You guys already saw the Air 58. Then we have the Endgame, what is this called? Endgame XM2 W4K. This was like my last mouse before the Final Mouse. I really like this one. The clicks are awesome. Super big fan of that one. And then the mouse before this, I had the G Pro Super Light. Okay, I love this mouse. This is like your typical classic. And I think I changed the skates on these as well. What else? I've got my Osmo Pocket here. I've got my DJI Mic 2 here. I also have like a little webcam somewhere. You guys, look, you already know we get like at least 1 to 2 servings of this a day. I think it's like 130 calories. You know, there's no binging around here. It's healthy eating habits. And if you feel like some candy, have some candy, right? Like 1 apple is around 100 calories. If you get like a large one, 1 serving of this, about 130 calories, right? You just don't eat like an asshole and you'll be fine. And now we got the big thing, right? This will be the last thing before I end the video. This is my PC setup. I know it's ridiculous. So you guys already know, if you guys are an OG watcher, we got the 5090. So I'm kind of tapped out of the whole computer building scene, but this is like the best PC money could buy pretty much. I have like a 9800 X3D. I know you can get like the 9950 X3D now. Maybe there's something better, I don't know, but 9800 X3D. I got the 5090. I have 64 gigs of CL6000 or 6000 CL30, I believe. I have like 4 terabytes of Samsung 990 Pro. I don't know why. What else am I missing? I've got like a Noctua fan, I believe. I'm air cooled, not liquid cooled. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty much it, to be honest. So that is my peripheral setup. That is my office. One more time so you guys can see it. Boom. I usually have WhatsApp on my right monitor. I have my Discord on my left. I usually watch stuff, or I have Google Sheets at the top. And then I usually either play OSRS on the bottom, or whatever game I want to play at the bottom when I have time. This is my old PS4, and this is where I used to watch like Invincible on this couch. But obviously now you can see that I don't have space, and I just can't be asked cleaning it. So yeah, this is my T-bar row from COVID. This was like 900 bucks. I really like this thing. It's pretty, like the best upper back machine money could buy. Obviously this is the Maxum Rack. So it's a cable system as well as a Smith machine, very versatile. A whole bunch of shit down here. Home Depot bucket, I've got no idea why. I got some micro plates back there. The foam pads that I used to deadlift 600 on, stiff leg by the way. Shout out Hee Hee. I got the Rogue deadlift bar. Shout out Hee Hee again. Bro's just copying all my shit, but look at him now. I saw that 545 stiff leg / deadlift, bro. I'm proud of you, man. W. And then what else? What else? I got a bunch of arms in case I want to do 6 monitors. I have an extra arm there. I have an extra arm there. I probably won't do 6 monitors. It's a little ridiculous. This is, to be honest, perfect for me. I know a lot of people like the whole large monitor thing. I don't. I like to have multiple monitors so a monitor can be designated to a specific kind of app or whatever. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it. These are my shoes that I would do my steps on. They are the Gel Nimbus 27 Asics. This is my tripod, or my tripod, am I stupid? This is my treadmill that I do all of my steps on, which I'm probably gonna do some more after this video. I got the smart lights here that I can change with my phone. What else? I think that's it. So that's the peripheral video. I believe I've covered absolutely everything. And yeah, hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I will catch you guys tomorrow in the car for the gym session. Let's go, baby. Look at that. Boom. All right, peace out. Much love.